So, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, so it's been, I would say, I always say, oh, it's been aggressive, oh, it's been aggressive. I'm sure you get tired of me saying that. But it's going to be, it'll be a mantra that we said for a while and for a long while because we're going to have, so we know about the Georgia Guidestones, okay? It's in my book. You can Google it. But the Georgia Guidestones has specific rules and laws that are in the process and actively being implemented right now. And you can read them, you can Google them, whatever. Okay, so we're in the Georgia Guidestones. The first world's going through a population decline, and the third worlds are going to go through a population boom. Okay, so there's going to be that transition as the first world is declining and people are aging out and dying suddenly, and you can blame it on whatever the hell you want. Africa, other places that are now coming up on the grid are going to be booming as far as families, the culture, farms, like what we went through. They're going to go through their own industrial age, their own technological evolution. Okay, that's why I share the post of this African influencer. And I think he's out of Nigeria. And he is sharing so much stuff. He is well read. He's read so many books from the Western world. And so they're developing a culture for the future. Again, remember, we're going to be all on a level playing field at some point. And so they're going to get on the grid. They have smart cities in Africa. That's why most of the people that watch me, and I look at my statistics, most people that watch me are from Africa. The first world, I try to get through to the first world. Most people resist the fuck out of me. Most people do. I think most of my people that watch me are from Africa. They're realizing, watching the first world decline, they don't want to end up like some of the people here. They don't want to end up, as far as some people don't. Others are going to be playing into the money game, wanting to be rich and influential and sell their soul type of thing. Okay. And so, anyway, so we're going through an energy surge again. The fridge is messed up again. And so what happened last night, nothing really happened. I just saw the refrigerator kind of go through a little thing, and it's now going through its little cattywampus stuff. I had to unplug it. Well, not unplug it, because I can't reach back there. I can't move it. But I just turned it off. However, this morning, I heard like something dropped. And I haven't heard anything move at all. And right now the sun is looking like so orange. Wow. Okay, so there's definitely an energy shift. I looked at my ting, which measures the voltages. No, there's no brownout, but my fridge is going haywire. And I'm hearing noises downstairs, like things dropping. I don't see anything on the floor. And I'm like, okay. And I feel a little bit of like, okay, I know there's a presence somewhere. I can feel it. Like in my stomach, I can feel it, like the hairs in the back of my head raising or back of my neck raising. Okay, but remember, when there is an energy shift, there's portals that open, okay? And so the last time this happened, we went through a major energy surge and I felt the frequencies. I even felt so dizzy and felt like all of my hair was raising up. I could feel just a tingly feeling. And that was a few weeks ago when my husband was changing the lights. Okay, and was there a portal in the lights, or was it just coincidental that there was an energy frequency during that time that we were changing the lights out? I couldn't tell you, but then after I went downstairs, but then there was also things were being moved. Like one of the books fell off and fell in front of my husband a couple weeks ago when we had an energy shift, and I felt the frequencies, and there was little orbs during my Facebook Live transitions during that time, transmissions. And so I remember right after feeling the feelings of just dizziness and tingly and all of that stuff. And then I went upstairs and I just took a major dump. Okay. So it was like I took on the energy and released it. And so that's when I went on Facebook Live and said, oh my God, I'm sure there was an energy shift, but there's also, that was probably a very thin veil between the alive world and the dead world, when spirits can walk back and forth and also possess people. That's why then people don't survive overnight situations when they're that far gone, and or people have awakenings on certain things, or something talks to them, or they have like a religious experience. Okay, you hear people that get diagnosed with diseases, they have religious experiences or spiritual awakenings, right? And it's like, holy shit. Spiritual awakenings and religious experiences is the dead contacting the alive. And when that veil is very thin in between, people get possessed, and then this is where the resistance, this is where bullies, this is where so many things happen. That's why you have to understand why people resist other people and why people don't like new information. Because the dead found a way into the alive person. The host is in the battle. That's the disease. The host is in a battle. And the thing that overtook them, the possessed, is now trying to stop any new evolution, trying to stop the person from releasing those demons. That's why I have a lot of trolls. Because they are partly possessed by the dead that don't want the host to release them. See, that's the thing about possession, and that's all in the horror movies. That's all in the Catholic Church. That's why they do exorcisms, because they know that people that die, their spirits are still out there. And when a low frequency environment, you have to mean to conjure up spirits. You have to mean to bring in more energy equipment, devices, to then see them and talk to them. There's mediums that do that. People play with the occult all the time. But in a higher frequency environment that's so much like this, where you're getting energy surges and energy pulses, then you don't have to do too much to be able to be in contact with the dead. But that's then you get all the cancers, the turbo cancers, the disease, the chronic illness, people getting religious awakenings, spiritual awakenings. They're looking even sexier now, because then the dead found a way in. And this is so, I mean, it seems allegorical, but it's, let me tell you, there's a lot of truth in the stories. If you understand that the environments have changed and have gone to this direction probably thousands and thousands of years ago, or even hundreds of years ago. Okay, so let me just figure out how to say this stuff. So during these extreme energy shifts, it is like a portal opening between the dead world and the alive world, which is why those who have opening portals in their own system that allows mass amounts of spirits to enter. This is why aggressive disease happens overnight. This is also why during those times, orbs may circulate around me like flies. Now, I don't know if during this transmission you'll see any orbs, and so we're just going to keep doing these transmissions through every energy shift. And then I'm also reinforcing. My body's already been reinforced. It's very reinforced. And my spirit is very strong. So when I woke up this morning and I heard that noise, I didn't get really scared. I'm just like, oh shit, here we go. And I jumped out of bed and I went downstairs to see what it was. Before, probably a couple years ago, when I would hear noises, or even a couple weeks or a couple months ago, I would just be like, oh, a little anxiety going like, oh my God, is it a ghost? No, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go battle whatever this thing is and see what the hell it is. And so I just jumped out of my bed, went downstairs to take a look and mean to look and see and all that. But I'll tell you, it's because not only is my mind reinforced, but my body is too. So when I go to sleep at night, even though it's a dead sleep, I wake up because I've already reinforced my body. And the spiritual battle, I win every time when I go to sleep. That's when people have to realize that that's what they have to win, is when they go to sleep and they go through that spiritual battle of cancer disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders, and or some kind of weird spiritual possession. The time that you sleep is when it's going to mean it the most. When you're awake, yes, there's also factors that will bring you into a weakness during the night of that spiritual battle, because who you entertain, what you entertain, the kind of people you entertain, and your lifestyle will weaken you, will weaken your temple, so you don't win the spiritual battle at night. That's why I'm trying to impress upon you guys to figure out how to not only release those demons that are causing all of your cancer, disease, and chronic illness and autoimmune disorders and weaknesses and aging out, but also reinforce your body so when you go to sleep at night, you have what it takes to get through those energy conversions called symptoms. What people diagnose other people, or what doctors and nurses and homeopaths and allopathics and naturopaths and chiropractors diagnose people, and then apply more elements to weaken their spirit. So when they do go to sleep, it's questionable whether or not they wake up. That's what I'm saying. If you can't get away from the medical holistic system, because they're going to weaken your spirit systematically. Remember, everything is FDA approved if it's been given by a doctor or a nurse or some holistic professional. If they're selling you something that has been gone through a corporation and gone through all the different studies and whatever. But it's still weakening your resolve to survive the night. That's why people die at night in their sleep, or they go through heart attacks and strokes early in the morning, overnight, and some people just die suddenly during the day because they've entered into an energy zone, whether it's a group of people or microbes or a concert, and the body goes through an immunological response and they don't survive that immunological response. That's why the diet suddenly is on the field when athletes go and compete. Because remember, they're less fat, mostly muscle, and they don't have that insulation, and that muscle is in that quick reaction time, and that's a diet suddenly. And so, this is why disease happens, aggressive disease happens overnight. This is also why during those times, orbs may circulate around me like flies. And again, we're going to see through these transmissions. Just pay attention to my video. If you see any, great. If you don't, then I could say it means that the energy frequency wasn't that aggressive, but maybe it was, but maybe I'm reinforced. Because remember, you have to factor in what I've been doing, the milk, the getting through, releasing those demons, the food, the sleep, just the strengthening of my whole body, mind, and spirit, everything. And my intellectual capacity has increased. And so I've increased the fortress within my body. And so then the orbs are not attracted. They're not looking for an opening like sperm looking to find a way to get into the egg. Because that's what orbs are like. They're like sperm. They're looking for a body to inhabit. They're looking for an opening. And may the strongest sperm win, right? That's what people say. Yeah, you already won because you're the strongest swimmer. Well, that's what the orbs are like. They're like sperm, but the sperm from the dead trying to inseminate and take over the alive. That's why you have to understand the J world as opposed to the diagnosable medical holistic system that weakens people's spirits. The shamans, all the different drug pushers, whatever, cannabis, and all, they're weakening people's spirits so they potentially will not survive the night systematically as they keep sustaining that lifestyle. And so that's the spiritual war. Those who are closer to death will have a lot more energy frequencies within their body, and they also become more ethereal as the dead world coaxes the weaker beings out into the other side. Somebody in the universe is keeping track, okay? Taking a chit. The universe is keeping score. You don't want to resist. However, your body must now be the temple that is reinforced. Because once you go to sleep, if your body is not reinforced, who's to say you'll wake up? Who's to say you'll wake up? You never want to resist anything you want to reinforce your protection. Be careful trying to gain protection from the other side or from other people. Because you don't know who it is. You don't know what you're inviting in. And that's again playing with the occult, playing with divinity things, playing with all the mediums, trying to get your fortune, playing with anything that conjures up spirits. Okay? You don't know what you're inviting in, and that's even with strangers and with people. You don't know who you're inviting in, and if you don't have discernment, you'll be invited in something that is taking your energy systematically. Reinforce your own house, your own body, your own mind. And then realize your spirit will have to fight the battles when you are asleep. Death is not only beautiful in the face, right? But also but always suffering and aging out. Extreme beauty and sexiness is necessary in the death culture because otherwise people would not choose to harm themselves with surgeries or starve themselves to keep sustaining that lifestyle and attraction, or keep releasing themselves through sexual whatever into the universe through aggressive sexual exploits. So the eggs that are dropping because of frequency shifts and the sperm that's releasing, and then all the orgasms men and women get, okay, women could probably recover from, but then some women are really addicted to sex. And so not only do they have all these orgasms with whoever, but they're also mitigating food because they want to look sexy for the man. And so we have been programmed that, yeah, extra weight on the body and all that stuff is not sexy. And so Hollywood and those stars that look like the epitome of Zeus's zoo, right? Because Zeus developed a zoo called the gods and demigods. And so that's how people have then been programmed to release their demons when they see images in Hollywood, movies, porn, and all that. Okay? And so, yeah, human farming. Remember, we're in like a human farming type of situation. And so when you are relatively balanced, not very sexy, and you stop suffering and you realize there's no enemy and you're not diagnosing somebody and you're not resisting somebody or something, and you probably don't have as many friends or have to be out there with everybody keeping you company, and you're not desiring a family with a bunch of kids, and you are in self-study, that's freedom. You're not under the spell. And so again, humans have been enslaved. They've been told to have many families, been told to breed. No different than having a bunch of animals and breeding a bunch of animals. That's humans in captivity doing that to their friends or families, their daughters, their sons, their nieces and their nephews. And then they do that in turn to the animals out there. Not only holding them captive in the captivity, but breeding them constantly, causing the suffering, and then causing trauma through the veterinary system, and then also selling them on the open market, selling them to their friends and family. Well, what do you think they do to humans as well? Through human resources in the companies, through the medical holistic system, commodifying all of your proteins and body parts, and then snuffing out the body's ability to release the demons, weakening your resolve so you can't survive the night one day. Okay? That's human slavery. That happened 6,000 years ago, 5,000, 4,200. That's happening today. What happened 6,000 years ago, or whenever the Anunnaki, or whenever the Nephilim came down from the heavens and found man, and who knows, if you want to go to the biblical stories, that's what they did to the humans back then. During the Bible stories, let's say during Exodus and all the different 5 books of Moses. But human slavery has been happening for thousands of years, and it's happening today. But now we have short-term memories in the population. However, the collective that runs your society has a long-term memory because they're privy to information that you were not privy to, and it slowly gets released. But when it finally, all the truths come out, it's when we're in a great reset. And most people who find out the truth are not going to survive. So they might know, they get that gift of knowing something, like right now about the spiritual war that we're in, but they won't survive the spiritual war. They're in too much resistance. And so, yeah, you might know this. It's not going to make a fucking difference because you're not going to not only behavioral change, but people who are in resistance right now, they're causing so much stress to their body, mind, and spirit, and they will eventually cause breakage, and they will not survive the night because they are in a spiritual war in a body that's not reinforced. Not only are they maybe too obese, but they're too skinny. They don't have enough fat on them. They bought into all the politics around food, around therapies, around everything. And it doesn't matter which side of the war regarding the therapies. When you're resisting and you don't understand how to assimilate and reinforce your body and realize that you can't stop the change that's happening, when you don't realize that, you're not going to survive no matter what. So no matter how much information you get right now, it's not going to make a fucking difference if you don't behaviorally change and stop resisting and start feeding yourself and releasing the demons and take care of yourself and pay attention to your own fucking world and stop saving other people or resisting someone else, because no one's doing shit to you that you're not doing to yourself already. And that's the activism world. That's the religious world, politics world, and the science world. All about saving somebody else and denigrating somebody else, demonizing somebody else, worshiping somebody else, worshiping the dead, worshiping your children, wanting to have so many families, so many kids that it weakens your genetic line, and your kids are weaker. You're going to see that even in Africa as they get on the grid and practice more of the Western medicine and all the therapies and the surgeries and the detoxes, the tinctures, the pills, the powders, the supplements, the herbs, the extracts, and all the cannabis, and more of the energy healing shit, using direct energy weapons on you, the rife machines. I'll tell you, even the third worlds, when they go through that population boom, they will also have a bust at some point, and and it's going to be accelerated, because as they get on the grid, as they get technology implemented and the internet, and they get access to knowledge, that's why you're seeing a huge influx of people from Africa trying to figure out how to be friends with the first world. You see them like rudimentary or attempting to befriend people by writing these canned speeches of, oh, I think you're beautiful. I want to be your friend. I really like your profile. You're like, who the hell? You know who does that? Are those from the third world trying to find a way to integrate to the first world. And people are like, yeah, don't be writing that stuff to me. Come on, I'm not trying to be picked up by some dude over there in some other place. And that's not how people in the first world interact with each other. We don't go like, oh, your profile is so beautiful. You are so beautiful. I'm so interested in you. And having some general or some influencer, in the Western world be as their profile. And then you see their friends are from someone from another country, So that's what you're seeing right now, is the third world attempt to integrate with the first world. And it's clumsy, but it's obvious. But I'm trying to give you guys some foresight if you're willing to hear it. Some of you are not. Some of you are already resisting me, and you're in your spirituality, and you won't survive at some point when the energy is that aggressive. But at least you get the gift of knowing. Not that's going to make a fucking difference, but at least you get the gift of knowing, right? Just like you did to your friends and family. Oh, here, know this, but don't reinforce your body and scare food away from your friends and family. That's exactly what the activism world does. And so yeah, I broke the spell. When you are relatively balanced, whatever that means, right? Not very sexy. Oh, I don't think I'm very sexy at all. Okay, I do not fit the picture of a skinny girl with big boobs and skinny legs and showing my tits to everybody. I don't fit that, and I don't want to fit that. That's bait for the predators out there. And then wearing a cross so it looks like you're a good girl. I'm not playing that game. So when you are relatively balanced, not very sexy, and you stop suffering and you realize, because I don't say I suffer at all. I just now blow my nose. Okay. And you realize there's no enemy, and you're not diagnosing somebody, and you're not resisting somebody or something. And you probably don't have as many friends. All right. Because you realize what kind of world is out there now. Now you're going to get on your friends list, or the people you hang out with all the time, or have to be out there with everybody keeping you company. And you're not desiring a large family with a bunch of kids, and you're in self-study because there's so much to learn out there. You haven't even scratched the fucking surface of how much knowledge out there is in the world. That's freedom. Even with the 5 degrees, you don't have enough of the knowledge out there and the maturity to understand how everything is connected. That's freedom. You're not under the spell. And so I broke the fucking spell. Some people would disagree. Remember, we're in a battle. And with these high energy frequencies, you can't tell between the dead and the alive. That's why they call it the walking dead. Because the saviors are really not saving people. They're just trying to stop people from releasing the demons. And what it is, it's like hive-minded, where the host is now under captivity of all the possession. That's the battle. When someone doesn't want to evolve, they are under the captivity of the spirits that are keeping them at a certain level. And when someone says, hey, here's some new information, here, learn how to release the demons, then the possessors then try to stop the evolutionists. because they don't want to lose their house. And they don't want the host to get wind that they are stronger, because they're the ones that can release those demons. But when you get to such a point where you're so weak because you're starving, you're afraid of food, you're taking all your remedies and surgeries, and you're playing with the occult. That's how the possessors of the body keep the host under control. And then who you surround yourself. Remember, the hive-minded type of dead versus alive. That's what I'm saying. That's the Pirates of the Caribbean. That's Johnny Depp's world. People love Johnny Depp. Oh, but he was trying to tell you, the live world and the dead world are in battle. But could you tell that someone who's just so biased that they can't fucking even see their own foibles, or even see that maybe they might be incorrect about certain things, or that they need to entertain something different if they want to survive this, that they're their own enemy? But in reality, yeah, when you're hosting so many things that are possessing you, that's causing you so much torturous energy and diagnosable conditions, and you want to blame someone out there who has absolutely no connection to you, and you want to keep those demons within because you're taking the pills, power supplements, and detoxes and whatever else, and pharmaceuticals, and you're also causing more trauma to yourself, harming yourself, you have no idea what the hell is going on. Because it's always somebody else's fault. So that's how the system has gotten you. And then you're bitter. Oh, I see all over Facebook. It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane. That's why they call it The Walking Dead, because now you really can't tell who's dead or alive, because the energy in the environment is just like what is it called? Bernie. Oh shit. Remember that movie? Bernie, what? Movie 80s. Let me see. Movie 80s. Bernie. Weekend at Bernie's. Okay? Weekend at Bernie's #2 was about the energy that when a certain music played, he's dead, right? But the music made him dance around and look alive. See, the music means energy. We're in a high energy frequency. Even the dead are able to reach out to the alive. And those who are half dead are still able to sort of, you're going to see even people who are alive are going to become more dead, but still be alive, but then become dead at some point. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. And it's a weird thing. So anyone who resists anyone's information, and I'm not saying explain in yourself, it is resistance, all right? When someone actively resists your information and they diagnose you and call you many things and many names, and I will say I'm guilty as well, because when I recognize the death program people, parts of them are under possession and they don't want the information, including the host, on how to protect themselves and release the demons. So why do I say nasty empaths? Because I have said that in my last post, and I'll read that later in a minute. But why do I say nasty empaths to those who try to diagnose me? Because I know I'm in a war between the dead and myself. And the love people exhibit those characteristics. Loving somebody to death to the point of diagnosis to weaken not only you, but your argument if you allow them to. That's why I say the love people will love you to death. Will love you to death. And that's why I'm really careful on those who just shower me with love and play, because they're also under the influence and playing those games of death and reproduction. And that's those that want big families, and they don't realize that, again, when you reproduce on bodies in deficit that have not become whole again, it weakens every generation. That was also the movies of Multiplicity with, what's his name? I forget his name. He played in Batman. But every single time he cloned himself, and that's what having children is. It's like not literal cloning, but that is like a relative cloning when you have children. Every single copy of both those parents who have not become whole again, you see how dopey and how diminished and different personalities come out, and then also self-destruct. So when you have 3 generations of people, or even 4, and they haven't become whole again, but they keep reproducing, the latest generation may not be strong enough for a very aggressive environment. And that's what you're seeing right now. We have kids who have been reproduced on bodies in major deficit, predisposed issues, and it's questionable if they're going to survive a very aggressive environment. They are weak. Not only do they have neurological issues, but they have physiological issues, and they have eating disorders. And so they're going to grow up deficient and not very reinforced. And it'll only take one more energy shift that's so aggressive. Will take out those who are exhibiting those kind of characteristics. Mom and dad withheld food from them because they're afraid of GMO, they're afraid of gluten, or they have an allergy, many food allergies. And the mom and dad are like, well, okay, they have food allergies, so they can't eat anything food but a celery or a piece of this or that. And so this kid is not getting the nutrients. They're not getting the milk. They're not getting any of the real necessary fats and proteins and other elements and other that. And so these kids are growing up so deficient and skinny, potentially even the girls so sexual. And so they have a bunch of kids and they can't afford to have a bunch of kids because they're so in deficit. And then it's questionable what these kids are going to turn out to be and or survive the environment. And so, but once people understand that all diagnosis comes from people that are possessed by the death system, I won't have to be coming out swinging, defending life. And that's what my last post was. I was coming out swinging, defending life. So once people understand all diagnosis is from people from people that came from, I gotta redo this, but possessed by the death system, I won't have to be coming out swinging, defending life. Those who understand me have been brought to the brink between life and death, and they know both worlds. And that's why they understand it. That's what I'm saying. Very few people understand where I'm coming from because many people have been given everything. They've been given animals. They've been given power, wealth, fame, scholarly academics. They've been given their careers, even their husbands. They've been given cars. They've been given toys. They've been given everything. They didn't really have to. I mean, if they worked for it, okay, but they were given these things and even just like taking a test and passing it, they were given great genetics. And then they were shielded from suffering. If they had a suffering, they had a pain, or if they made a mistake and they didn't, and then they couldn't afford the mistake, someone bailed them out. Whether it was the medical system that gave them the absolution, the holistic system that gave them the absolution, or their parents who said, hey, here's some money, bail yourself out. And so then what happens is they've never seen what it's like to suffer, really. They probably haven't even experienced what it's like to be dead in some ways and having to pull yourself out of a fucking hole, whether it's a financial hole, an emotional hole, or a relationship hole. They never really saw what it meant to be at the bottom because someone was always keeping them propped up at the top. And so they'll never understand where I'm coming from. If anything, they'll be actively, so they've been given death, they'll be actively promoting it to their friends, their family, their everyone. That's Silicon Valley. That's most of Silicon Valley that was given everything, given a career, given a great family, great genetics, given a lifestyle, given plastic surgery, given big families and a lot of friends. They will never understand where I'm coming from because they never had to fucking suffer in their whole life. Everything was given to them, even though they're like, oh, well, I'm the one that passed the test. I'm the one that had to go work in this firm and do this. Okay. It's not that when you're given things, it's not that difficult to pass the test when you're given the time to study, when you're given the time to go and apply, when you have connections. It's not fucking difficult to go and do the things that you're doing when you have the connections. It's when you actually have to work and pull yourself out of the fucking whatever that then you appreciate, and you've seen death when you think about it. And you also understand what it means to live. But those who have been raised with a silver spoon in their mouth or had family and friends bail them out of situations all the time, they don't know what it means to actually die and live and pull themselves out of the grave. That's why you don't want to ever get into hospice, but people will. And they'll think they'll do a Hail Mary. No, you've never had to suffer your whole fucking life because everyone gave you operation, a pill, power stop, and detox. You don't have what it takes to pull yourself out of the fucking grave. Most people do not have what it takes because they've been bailed out by everybody. And their parents and their friends and family and the system did them a disservice. But remember, there was a temporary people. Those that understand this, that have seen death when you think about it and suffered, they've seen both sides. Now they appreciate life and they understand what it means to change. Okay? That's why very few people understand the J world. Even people in the J world. I can count on my hands those who have exhibited the understanding. I know that John understands. I know that Audrey understands. I know that Tanya understands. And maybe some other people, Shannon and somebody else. Maybe Pip, potentially. But a lot of people, That's only like 5 people out of how many people have watched my videos and been part of the J world? And there's maybe more, but I can't think of, but I don't see them a lot and they don't say too much. So they're out of my mind. Okay? So that says a lot, that most people have been used as a slave, as a temporary slave, and given all the baubles and the experiences so that way we can keep pulling resources out of you. That's what the system is doing. If you don't realize that, then okay. But you're given now this information. Now you can make a choice. But at the 11th hour, sorry, but I only figured this out within the last 3 years when the frequency shifted and the connections are coming faster. Just like a kid, these not only CRISPR gene edited kids, but these kids who are blood type A and B, who are now given the gift of energy, and it expedited the energy conversion so that way they can run through formulas and run through texts and subject matters in school, and they can get their degrees in like 5 years, and they're only like 10 years old. And so they get like 5 degrees, physics degree, chemistry degree, history degree, and all that stuff. And then they're thrust into SpaceX or NASA to go and run through all this different formulas and help solve problems for the adults who were like them, but in a slower frequency environment. It took them 40 years versus 10 years to reach what each reached as far as the degrees and the academic innovation. See, in a higher frequency environment, you can become smarter or deteriorate faster. But you're the one that has to determine how much intelligence you want to gain and how much can you handle during that process. And I'll tell you, people are losing intelligence in this environment. And those in the J who understand where I'm coming from, who have a relatively stable platform, you're gaining intelligence. And that's why people are not going to understand you, because they're losing intelligence as we speak. And it's harder. It's like, again, when you have holes in the boat, your boat, if you don't plug in those holes and reinforce your body, mind, and spirit and all that stuff, then the boat will take on water and sink you faster more than you can plug up the holes. And that's where people are in. There is such a deficit. They won't have what it takes to keep plugging up the holes and reinforcing their body because it's too painful and their lifestyle is too busy. And they're trapped in wealth or trapped in poverty. And they're suffering. And you can't save them. You can't. You can't save them. So those who had everything given to them, somebody also gave them death. And that's the only thing they know. We thank you for your service. Those are the temporary people. This is also people who have families, who want to have families, who believe in so many people in a family, and friends don't like me because I'm alerting the hosts they need to release those demons. And so you see all the mommy and me groups, all the crunchy mamas, all the people are like, oh, I don't believe in milk. It's so fucking horrible. And their poor kid is starving. Oh, they don't like me because I'm alerting the host that they have to start feeding themselves to release those demons that are possessing not only their children, but also the mom and dad. But the mom and dad are, nope, they're too resistant. They're in the holistic world, allopathic world, and nothing can penetrate their death culture. Nothing can. And so they're in absolution and they're in spirituality. And they have a group of friends and family that are reinforcing those belief systems. That's what I'm saying. The jail is not really what you think. The jail is your friends and your family and your lack of evolution and the demons that are making sure the host doesn't take care of themselves. And that's your resistance to evolution. Those who resist evolution are in a fucking jail. And it's most people out there. Even the evolutionists are in the jail. And so it is a spiritual battle we're in right now that is so insidious. You have choices now, and so choose the best for you. And so when I posted that song from Flaming Lips, I discovered that group back in 2006, and I bought their CD, and I was working for Sacramento Charter High, St. Hope, and I was in the data accountability, and I was working really late at night, just running, like plugging in data in Excel spreadsheets and making bar graphs for the principal. And it was showing just like how many people were at scores of English language arts and math and all that stuff. And so when I plugged in all those data sets, it brought the bar graphs, and I was doing that for so many different classrooms. And so I was just listening to this, but I didn't realize how significant this song was. And so when you see the song or whatever, the Yoshimi battles, the pink robots, what are the pink robots? The extremely sexy women. Instagram, OnlyFans, Okay, and so Yoshimi, her name is Yoshimi. She's a black belt in karate working for the city. She has to discipline her body. See, that's the whole starvation and all that stuff, and also sex. Because she knows it's demanding to defeat those evil machines. I know she can beat them. Oh, Yoshimi, they don't believe me, but you won't let those robots defeat me. Yoshimi, they don't believe me, but you won't let those robots defeat me. The evil-natured robots, they're programmed to destroy us. See, that's, and it's almost like a double entendre, because how can Yoshimi be the one? He's the one that is the evil robot, but also fighting the robots. That's the women fighting themselves. Okay? The sexy ass women fighting themselves. They want to survive, but they're also destroyers. That's crazy. Right? So the those evil natured robots, they're programmed to destroy us. She's got to be strong to fight them, fighting herself. And she's taking lots of vitamins, right? Of course, right? That's the women that are taking all their vitamins or pills or powders or supplements or detoxes, all of their surgeries. And so because she knows it'll be tragic if those evil robots win, I know she can beat them. So there's a lot to this song. And I'm saying, yeah, you're seeing that in the medical holistic system, homeopathic, allopathic, all the girls, boys, whoever, taking their vitamins, trying to defeat the evil, but no, they're making it even stronger by taking all those things, weakening their spirit. But they're in a battle and they're disciplining their body, they're working out, they're doing the yoga, and they're doing all the breatharian exercises and then they're not eating all the food in the food supply, they're scaring people away from food. Yeah, those are the evil robots to themselves and to other people when they promote that lifestyle. And they're sexy. The pink robots. They're the ones that have the big boobs and the skinny bodies, and they're plastering every single body part all over the internet. Because that's how they're going to make their money and influence and also gain market share, is using their body parts. And the weak men fall under the spell of the pink robots. And so that's why these girls are cursed with beauty, because the men now are figuring out that these beautiful women don't have a lot of substance behind them, but they'll definitely take not only their resources, their paychecks, but also their soul. Oh, it's so allegorical. Being beautiful in this society right now, it is a curse, because that's what these girls are going to figure out. That's the only thing way to make money, because they don't have enough up here, because they're figuring out even in college, when the guys get a hold of them, that's how they're going to get the attention, even potentially buy themselves grades if the professor is that weak and gives them an A because she did something behind the desk. Okay? That's what I'm saying. The girls that are hot are going to be using their body to get ahead, but that only lasts so long. Here we go. So somebody posted, give me a second. Well, let me go real quick here. Before I get into what I responded to that brought me to this point, I want to make sure I don't forget something, because there's a lot to cover in this world at the 11th hour. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Give me 1 second. I wanted to read, oh my God, this is, okay. Something about the humans, oh yeah. Human farming, oh wow. Okay. All right, let me give me 1 second. I need to find this because it was really poignant and I gotta find it. Because, and I feel the tingly, so there's some definitely energy going on. Will I find it this way? Hold me 1 second. No, not that. Jesus. Okay, search human farming. Okay. Here we go. Constant sex and sexual reproduction is like a prison, and people don't survive prison or cure. At some point, somebody in that family must advocate somebody becoming whole again. Reproducing babies make not only the parent weaker, but also the children over time, every generation weaker, which is why you're seeing more disease. You can blame it on the vaccines, people do, but again, you have a choice how to respond to evolutionary immunological responses. Biologically, people are becoming weaker because they keep reproducing bodies in deficit. And you'll see that in Africa as they go through a population boom, and every generation becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. And with how much this energy conversion is going on, holy crap. And they withhold foods. Starvation is the main reason why you don't survive therapies, public health therapies. And they attack their own evolution in the energy healing medical system, surgical system, causing trauma to the body, which is why animal breeding and human breeding is enslavement. Human farming and animal farming, all the same thing, and they develop zoos, right? That's your community. It's like a zoo, or Zeus, the Hermetics, the Greek mythology. That's how I know Greek mythology is really, the Greek system in college is something to understand, okay? And so, king of the human zoo is Zeus. Wikipedia. Zeus is a sky and thunder god in ancient Greek religion who rules as king of the gods on Mount Olympus. Olympics, right? His name is cognate with the first element of his. And then there's children, Apollo, right? All of his children. And they're all in their own specific hormonal strengths. And you can read about Apollo, Ares, Artemis, Athena, Dionysus, Eileithyia, Hebe, Helen of Troy. And the Roman equivalent is like Jupiter, siblings, Hestia, Hades, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Chiron. That's the name of a biotech company called Chiron, called half man, half horse, right? Hybrids in biotech. And that's over, I think, in Emeryville in the Bay Area, Chiron. Okay. Parents, Cronus and Rhea, animals, dinosaurs under captivity, just like humans right now, who can't get out of their friends and family's influence. So when you're in a big family and a lot of friends, you're in a zoo, and there's a zookeeper. That's the queen bee and the king bee, keeping the zoo, the animals, under control. And the zookeeper could be your mayor, and the zookeeper attendants could be the policeman. And so now you're seeing all this connection here, right? Which is why men and women have sex, and sex have been weaponized against the population. That's how the system is going to depopulate you. Through hormones and hypersexual urges and the medical system, surgical system. This is why all types of sexual orientation doesn't matter when the end result is you pass away at some point, in as much pleasure as possible. This is why all types of sexual orientation doesn't matter when the end result is you passing away at some point. And so, doesn't matter what it is, when the end result is you pass away at some point, in as much pleasure as possible. So I just watch. I watch from the sidelines, and I don't play any of the games you guys are playing. I saw this shit a mile away. I just couldn't articulate it until today. This is why beauty will be a curse for many, many girls and boys and parents. And then also on top of that, the curses in the medical system and the holistic system. People are playing with the occultic stuff. I walked away from the wars, and that's all the activism too. I hope you all survive this great reset, but I can't change any of you. Most of you are too far gone. I'm only trying to speak to those who have enough wiggle room to evolve. Proof. Why is Africa population booming? According to the UN, the population in sub-Saharan Africa is growing at 2.5% per year, more than 3 times the global average. Some of that can be attributed to people living longer, but family size remains the driving factor. And so you're going to see them having so many children, and it's going to weaken that genetic line. Hey, but they'll have fun, take the resources, develop a booming economy. There's going to be rich, there's going to be influencers, there's going to be philosophers, no different than the first world in Western Europe and all that stuff, okay? So I'm going to keep that up. So I knew that was, because I have so much, and I don't even know where all this shit is, and I just trying to keep track of all this information of where I'm coming from. It's definitely a feat. Okay. And so before I get into that, Okay, let me just go back. Let me just go back down to, I'll get to that point. Okay, is this is the Facebook Live from yesterday. Okay, that was a lot. Okay, so now I'm going to go from the last video to this point. All right. A testimony case against getting surgeries, especially for women, not me. So somebody, and if you're part of my Facebook, you can see, I'm not going to say her name because she already put it out there, but that's fine. She said, I had a hysterectomy in 2015. Fibroid the size of a football sitting on my bladder, causing havoc. Then gallbladder 5 months later. It all's connected. Okay? I probably would still have my gallbladder, so she had it removed, I guess. I probably would still have my gallbladder if I hadn't had the first surgery. On and off birth control pills for years, I think compounded the issue leading up to the first surgery. What a racket. I was 48 at the time. I used to be in a group of so many young girls getting butchered from the surgery at like 20 years old. That shit should not be happening. And so she goes, I have a huge high pain tolerance, but when I woke up, I felt like I'd been run over by a bus. The major surgery puts your body in such a shock. I was so messed up for a long time. Gallbladder surgery had its issues, but not as bad. These surgeries happen every day, yet people think nothing of it. So imagine an animal getting spayed, getting neutered, getting botched, getting tumors taken out because of certain things, because of the injections that turned it into a tumor. That's trauma to the body. All the surgeries, the injections, all the things that the veterinary system does adds trauma to the fucking dog's body and the animal's body. All the antibiotics, everything in the medical holistic system causes the zoos of people and animals to be suffering like you would not believe, because all that fucking trauma. This is why I hate the breeding of animals and then force them into these operations of suffering and commodifying their suffering. And people advocate this shit to an animal. They advocate these crazy ass surgeries and buying animals and adopting them, allowing people to breed them so you can save them and watch them suffer and justify it, and then force them into surgeries and diets. Spay, neuter is trauma. And if you don't want them to reproduce, then you keep them whole and you separate the males and the females and only take care of what you can handle. So if your animal never had surgery and you're in the J world, understand my information, you might have a fucking chance, maybe. This is why animals suffer and die from the vet system, and why animals suffer and die from the medical, holistic energy, well, it's the same thing, humans, animals, at this point, it's all the same shit. And this is why humans suffer and die from the medical, holistic energy healing system. These surgeries done into the animals, regardless, causes tumors, fibroids, and then suffering and forcing the owners, slave owners, to put them down. Their animals no different than forcing people into palliative and hospice care. So those in Africa and in the third world coming up, you're going to be going through the same suffering. You're going to be commodifying animals, bringing them into your house, going to the vet system, causing trauma to them. Every single time the body wants to evolve, you're going to go and stifle that evolution, no different than what you're going to do to your kids in the medical, holistic, surgical system. Oh, that's the depopulation agenda, is the purposeful trauma through the medical system, medical, holistic system. And the suffering will be astronomical. This is why we're in a great reset. All those are resisting evolution using the surgical, holistic, energy healing system are just compounding the suffering. Makes me ill to know this, which is why emotional involvement in very few people will save your life. This is why I have very few friends, because I cannot afford to suffer and watch them pass slowly and then accelerate it in an aggressive environment. How can you watch mass amounts of animals and humans suffer and die at the hands of their own friends and family? I had a pet once, and you saw it. And I recorded every bit of it. So you saw what I went through. You saw what the animal went through. And this is what people do every single fucking day to their animals. And when the animal is suffering so much, then they have to go and put them down. And so the owner gets absolution. That's the trap that you're in. That was the trap that I was in. You're set up to fail when you adopt an animal in a death culture. Oh, but you're all about saving them. And here's my entertainment piece. And look how beautiful they are. And look at the diet and the food is so amazing, so organic. And the animal dies anyways. Okay, they live to be 18 or 19 years old. Big fucking deal. They're in captivity and you're holding them captive. I had a pet once, and I won't do it again until Africa finally gets down to a manageable population in the future, like beyond 2050 or whatever is intended via the Georgia Guidestones. Because we know Africa and India and all the different third world countries are going to have to come up and go through that population boom of suffering and a Babylonian society, and then they're going to have a population decline like we're in right now in America and in the first world. So I don't know how people have animals over and over again, watching them die. It's great on one hand because, right, you can play with the animal, enjoy their prime, right? And I post videos on that because I enjoy watching them. But believe me, I don't want to know the other side. But until the system changes, I'm not voluntarily causing anyone, even myself, to suffer. Because if you don't want your animal to suffer and you have to kill it so you don't have to suffer, that's fucked up. That you have to kill something so you don't suffer and they don't suffer. That's a fucked up system. That's inducing trauma in people, making them desensitized to death. And they keep breeding them over there on this side and commodifying the babies and then killing them on this side. After you take their resources and their hormones because you are suffering and need animal as a therapy. That's fucked up. That's fucked up for the animals and you. Believe me, I learned my lesson. I wanted a dog, and I wanted a dog so bad for many years, and I didn't have the space to do that. Finally, when I got married and we moved into a house or whatever, we had the space to get an animal. I got one, and I did everything I can to keep it alive and do all this other stuff. And then the system changed, and I didn't realize how many surgeries she went under, and that's where the suffering began. And that was all recorded. I want you to see my other page. You will see, and maybe even earlier on in the videos that I have right now in this page, as far as this profile, you'll see everything that I went through with that animal. And people are mischaracterizing what I did because they're like, oh God, Jillian's crazy. She's trying to pull out the shit of her animal. Well, part of it is, yeah, you got to release those demons, and then you have to feed the animal and let them finally regrow or regenerate the cells that were damaged. But she had so much trauma from the surgeries, from the spay or the neuter, the spay, she's spayed, yeah. And she had tumors from probably fucked up genetics or other things that may have happened that they applied antibiotics to. And so she had tumors. And so then they drilled into those tumors at least once. And that's what I saw when she was finally going through that energy first that she didn't die from, but yeah, she was suffering. And so I finally had to put her down because we humans aren't equipped to handle that kind of suffering. And when you induce that much trauma through the veterinary system, there's no second chance. But if animals didn't get the surgeries and the spay and all the things and the shots from the medical system, the veterinary system, they might have a chance to release those demons and rebuild their body to evolve to the next environment. But no, she was not equipped to evolve to the next. So we saw that. We all suffered through that. Believe me, I suffered the most. And writing a book at the same fucking time. So that's what people do every single fucking day in the pet world when they're breeding pets and taking them to the veterinary system, and the veterinary system butchers these fucking animals. And then also the medical system butchers humans. I don't want any part of it. All right. Oh yeah, that's where it was. Okay, I've got that. All right. And we have a new COVID variant coming out. Here we go. We're entering into another frequency shift, a higher frequency shift, and it's going to take people out. People are going to be feeling it. If they're not feeling it already, they're feeling it now. There's lights above skies. And so when I posted about Africa's smartest cities in 2023, Egypt, Cairo, Algeria, South Africa, Morocco, Kenya, Nigeria, Lagos, and Abuja, Tunisia, and Ghana. And so according to the 2023 Smart City Index report by the International Institute of Management Development. And so this guy, A.H. Gulani, I've shared his stuff. You can look at what he is promoting. He's very well read, and he's an influencer. He doesn't get everybody up to a certain speed. He was dubbed as an influencer. Watch Africa. So this is what really got me going yesterday. So somebody posted on their profile by Dr. Glenn Patrick Doyle, trauma survivors often get in the habit of spending a lot of time alone because alone is safe. Here we go, fucking pop psychologist. Relatively anyways, alone is controllable. We understand alone. We don't have to stress out about alone. People are unpredictable. When we're alone, there's less risk to manage. And so trauma survivor is now the new conspiracy theorist. Of course, it's been done by a doctor. This is a doctor that has now diagnosed someone who realizes how fucked up the world is. And now in this higher frequency environment, you don't want to be so exposed to people's insidious, indirect ways to possess you, as well as people's direct ways to possess you and destroy you. And so now, so then, remember, when people were getting wind that there was going to be a great reset on some level, and there were certain indicators that gave people the awareness, and even like Alex Jones, right? The controlled opposition. And so the word conspiracy theorist was a term that was used to dismiss people's awarenesses of what's going on, because they had it within them to figure out something is shifting. They don't know what it is, something is wrong, but they're going to now explore what it is. And those who have been given everything to them, who are under the influence, who've been given a lifestyle, a belief system, everything, politics, religion, and science, and someone is challenging their whole thing, this is how they're able to dismiss people who are realizing there's more to this world than what was given to them and shown to them. And so, what's a conspiracy theorist? And I said, move over, conspiracy theorist. We have a new demon of the day. And she goes, well, it's, and I have a professor on my page. His name is Professor Dia, I forget his last name, but that's okay. But he has a picture on this. And so he says, stop, I'll answer that. Conspiracy theorist is an intellectually bankrupt term used to diminish anyone who manifests the courage and willingness to question official narratives. The term is especially popular among those too cowardly to accept the reality of self-interested collusion among powerful individuals. Okay, or that there is a change, and people are not prepared for change. They're not told to prepare for change, really. They were told, yeah, change is going to happen, but then also they allowed the controlled opposition to then give them a platform to keep resisting and resisting until no one exists, right? So then I am just like, okay, so then this is and so the person that posted this, well, I'll say this, that they are resisting the evolution. They didn't like the fact that people wanted to wear masks during that time. They even say that viruses don't exist. Yeah, they might be even right-wing, really right-wing. And even I probably bumped heads with them at some point, because I knew that there was something that wasn't aligned. But they're still my friend. I mean, they're still diverse, and they still have a chance to sort of assimilate if they want to. But I'm going to point this out, and I'm going to read this. So, examples of leverage. We learn about leverage in the law system, because that's how you win cases, is you have leverage over someone. And then people play in the gray areas, even cross lines and cross boundaries. And then the system, when they find out, they hold you accountable. And so then they have leverage over you because you violated the law. And so everyone is trying to have leverage over each other in body, mind, and spirit, in politics, in religion, in science dogmas. And especially in the medical system, when someone does question the official narrative, just like this person who posted it, right? They're like against the V's and against those in the medical system promoting the V's. And then they're quoting doctors. So as long as the doctors fit their narrative, they're okay with doctors. But when the doctors don't fit their narratives, they hate now the doctors. But now they love them because now the doctors are waking up, right? Now the doctors are in their corner. Bull fucking shit. Anyone in the medical holistic system, in the energy healing shaman promoting remedies, whether it's legal remedy or a holistic or allopathic remedy, they mean to snuff out the evolution and the life systematically over time, until that cumulative effect is now almost impossible to come back from. And so examples of leverage: trauma survivor equals the chosen one. This is me saying, okay, giving people choices, because I really don't want to dub myself as a trauma survivor. That's so diminishing. That is so like intellectually insulting, because we're all trauma survivors. You were born into a system with basically less than 100 years to live. You were born from trauma, from sex, from politics, from religion, and from science dogmas. You are all trauma survivors, and you've experienced some kind of war in your lifetime. Whether it's a political war every 8 years or every 4 years, or an international war, or a regional war, or a religious war, or a microbial war. pandemics. You're all fucking trauma survivors. So don't even think that because someone else comes out with more of an organized trauma surviving and they're willing to point out stuff and realize how to understand both sides of an issue, that you go and diagnose them. That's the thing is this is how those who are resisting evolution try to dismantle and take away credibility from those who are realizing what the real game plan is. And even those in the conspiracy world that have stayed in their activist group, whether it's chemtrails or anti-New World Order or anti-V, they don't realize they have to fucking evolve, even from that fucking argument. But no, they're not. They're stuck. Because remember, they have pigeonholed themselves and they don't know how to fucking change. So, really what a trauma survivor is a chosen one, right? Giving people choices. You can choose to be a chosen one. Choose yourself. Everyone is a trauma survivor. Just some had more organized trauma done to them. Freedom is acknowledging it, if you can. See, when someone doesn't tell you their whole background and they keep so much from you, but you're willing to open up about your background and say stuff and realize stuff. Those that keep stuff from people then feel they have a leverage. They have an edge over someone else who's exposed everything about their whole world. And they use that. And so that's what made one of the major issues between my mom and I, is that she knew my whole background because she fucking developed it. And so when I would argue against something, whatever it was we were arguing about, and then she would throw my past in my face, and I didn't have anything in my arsenal to throw back at her, because she would never really give me a lot to use as another arsenal to throw back. And that was for a reason. When people withhold a lot of their history, a lot of their trauma, a lot of things that put them in a bad light, is because they're not only ashamed, but they can't evolve. They have an image to maintain. And then when someone wants to challenge someone's lifestyle, belief system, or what's going on, and people have kept all their trauma under wraps and behind all the sunny faces and whatever, then they're like, oh, look what you did. Look what you had done. They use the love, the brutality, the bribery, the fear and the sex and all that stuff and humiliation as a way to diminish. And that is what these doctors do, even to their patients. And then those that worship doctors and worship the medical holistic system then go and parrot and quote doctors and quote them to diminish their friends and their family and people who are trying to make change in this world. It's insidious. It really is. And so recognize that for what it is. And people do not. So let me tell you, everyone out there has been traumatized on some levels. Just some are better at hiding it, but they will not survive evolution because they have an image to maintain. And they will die with their image and take along their family and their firstborn. And so freedom is acknowledging it if you can. If you have an image to maintain, you won't survive evolution. Those who have an image to maintain won't survive evolution because it was intentional. All this evolution is intentional. And if you can't change and you're resisting and you're diagnosing people, hey, thanks for your service. We thank you for your service. I'm not playing your fucking game. And so it doesn't have to be a diagnosable condition, right? And pathologize and end up dead. And so you have no idea how psychologically manipulated you all have been. And the system will keep changing and changing and changing until you completely resist yourself out of existence. And so what is entropy? When you keep dying and reproducing. That's how a genetic line will disappear. When people promote large families and reproduction continuously, sexual reproduction, and you don't even have to make a baby. It's just releasing your sperm. Or continuously resisting the environment and not feeding yourself, so the body is constantly producing eggs. Constantly. Now when we were in a major energy shift like we are, I had a period that lasted for about a week, but it wasn't bad. Okay, I was tired, but I didn't have a period ever since February. My dog was going through that major energy conversion, and then I had to put her down. I had to give her back to the fucking system. And so yeah, that's what you're going to see in Africa. They're going to be the largest population boom. That's where the 12.9 billion people are going to come from. Right now we're at 8 billion. Africa is the fastest growing region because they're getting online and they're getting first world eyes. They're going to while we're declining, they're going to be coming up, and it's going to balance out, and then they'll be all at decline in those that are booming. Okay? And so you want to diagnose me or anyone else who questions your mentality and methods of operation of resistance? You see, was all intentional. Planned trauma and giving people the blueprint of what's going on. This is in my world. And a lot of people are in my world. But some people are resisting that they're in my world, and they will hide behind their image. Okay? When the organized trauma survivors, like Charles Manson, Ted Kaczynski, okay? When the organized trauma survivors finally come out, they know people resist them and call them crazy. I will never end up hurting somebody. Absolutely not, because I wasn't taken to that brink of wanting to commit homicide or anyone, or even suicide. But some of these people who have been traumatized by academia and by the system, they end up like a Charles Manson or a Ted Kaczynski, or even some of these other people that you're seeing splashed across the headlines, and there are bodies involved. Serial killers. Okay? And so planned trauma and giving people the blueprint of what's going on. When the organized trauma survivors finally come out, they know people resist them and call them crazy. And those resisting evolution will start diagnosing you, going right back into the medical system. And so you see those who are anti-V are diagnosing those that are saying, hey, maybe right-wing person, maybe you might need to assimilate. And they will use a doctor. No different than the doctor using the therapies to go and promote whatever. They're going to use a doctor to go and try to silence somebody by intellectually dehumanizing them through those type of diagnoses. All right, so while those diagnosing them will end up resisting themselves out of existence, destroying their own families. When the organized trauma survivors come out to point out the foibles in our society perpetrated by those who don't want to change, you will see the opposers or resistors intellectually diminish people who finally want to change, acknowledging and supporting evolution. And so, and we were a little bit redundant because I'm trying to hammer this home even to myself. And so you will see those who are resisting everything going on as far as the NWO and change replace the word conspiracy theorists and diagnose people as trauma survivors with the intention to destroy their credibility and them. And that's the medical holistic system, perpetrated by licensed professionals, destroying evolution, destroying life or attacking life, oncology, rife machines, ivermectins, quoted by those who revere and worship people who attack life. And that's everyone in the activism world. And diminish those who try to protect themselves. Because I like to be alone. I know what the world that I'm dealing with, and I'm a minority, a fucking minority. And so abso-fucking-lutely, I'm trying to even get away from those in the medical system who diagnose me and everyone else. Because most people out there don't want people to change, and so they make fun of those who choose to change, or they diagnose them. It's really fucked up. And their friends and family do that to their own children and to their own friends and family, and they do it to themselves. And they're also scared of those who can make it on their own. I don't have to use the medical holistic system. I don't have to do anything to stop. I don't have to even say that I have to avoid the V's. If V's were mandatory in order to move around, I would get one, release the demons, and build up my body and do whatever, and then everything would be fine. But even those that say, oh, I can't get a V, oh my God, it's so bad, they're also the ones that will resist themselves out of fucking existence because they don't understand anything, really. All they understand is resistance. And so people who want to be alone, people who like their own company, know most of the world is fucked up and they don't want any part of it. That's why the people who want to be alone run in small circles, very small, with very few friends. Very few friends. So that way I'm not constantly being influenced by somebody who wants to die and then cast those death spells on me. And those who diminish them don't realize how messed up they are by diminishing those who want to be alone. Because maybe they are scared to be alone. Essentially, that's the thing. Most people are scared to be alone. Being alone is a powerful thing. And it threatens those who are so dependent on everyone out there. Have to be out there, have to be around somebody, have to have a child because they're lonely and they don't care what kind of child they're bringing into this world. I'm telling you, most people are afraid to be alone. And they are threatened by those who can make it on their own. Oh, it's pretty obvious. Not everybody needs to be around everyone all the time. But it's not a fucking diagnosis. Trauma survivors, the new catchphrase, a new way to diminish people. And I go, fuck you. I'm being redundant, but I'm okay with that. Now you're seeing how those resistant to evolution will find a way to diminish somebody else's awareness of how the system must change. And so they'll make trauma surviving something to feel sorry for and diminish and also pathologize and use that as a diagnosis to take away any credibility. That's how the system uses shame, love, humiliation, brutality, bribery, sex, and love as a way to shut people up because they don't agree with them. I'll tell you, be very careful. They are all around you. They are in the activist groups. That's why I left activism. That's why I stepped out of the war. That's what I mean. This is what I mean by people using your past against you when they don't want you to change or anyone else to change. And if they don't agree with you. Those are the nasty empaths in our society, the saviors. That's why it takes an extremely strong person to change society. Because society is so messed up right now and people are fucking suffering. But remember, they are suffering because they can't change and they will never change. And they will beat their way of conversion into you if they could possibly do so. This is exactly what those in the conspiracy world 10 years ago dealt with. And then those who survived the trauma, this is how those who inflicted trauma out there by resisting so much. This is how they treat those who are assimilating. And so those who also inflict trauma onto people then don't want the survivors to speak out. They diagnose them. They find every way to silence them. That's what's going on. I remember a couple years ago, my mom sent me something in the mail. I don't know what it was, but she sent me something in the mail. And it was thick, as if it were screenshots of something when I was starting to come out about stuff. I sent it back. And I think I wrote her an email and said, I'm not opening this unless it is a summons to go to court, a subpoena, or you're serving me to go to court for something. I'm not reading this. I have no knowledge of whatever's in that envelope. I sent it right back. That was a message. You're not going to fucking silence me. If you want to hash it out in court and have it be public, no, fine. But you're not going to play these games. That's how I had leverage. When you know the system and you know people's intention to silence you, you better be so aware of the different tactics. Fear used in the law, fear of taking away your child, fear of taking away your dog, fear of, that's what I'm saying, humiliation, brutality, fear, love, sex. Those are the things of how people get over and leverage people. That's why I'm trying to give you guys an access to get out from under those that are keeping you under a thumb, that want to silence you. Don't let them silence you through psychological means, through the law. Know the law, know psychology, know yourself, study everything, and get out of the war. That was how I won with my mother, was I sent back whatever she sent me. Because I have a social security card, I have my birth certificate, I have everything. I don't need anything from her. So whatever she sent me was probably screenshots saying, don't say anything, don't do this, because she's gone on my Facebook before and said, don't say this. I don't agree with this. Why are you saying this? Oh, haha. That's why we don't talk. But I figured out a strategy. I beat her on her own fucking game. So if you don't like what I'm saying, Mom, take me to fucking court and we can put it all out there for everyone to hear and see. But I'm not trying to defame you. I'm just saying these are the tactics. But you're a licensed professional. And so it wasn't illegal. But I'm also giving people clues on how to get out from under their friends and family who are also licensed professionals, or take cues from them, or try to silence you because they don't like your changing or evolution. And a lot of parents do that to their own kids. They silence them through bringing up past stuff to traumatize them again and make them feel so less than. Oh, it's fucked up. It's fucked up what we teach our parents to destroy their own children. And so this is how they treat those who are assimilating. They attempt to psychologically convert people back to what they think they should be by diagnosing them. Fucking insidious. That's who you're dealing with. That's the activism community. It's all psychological, very predictable. The trauma survivors in the J world will survive this if they get out of their own way. And those who feel sorry for the trauma survivors and use the past against them and resist evolution, who want to have so many children and not wear a mask and be nasty against those who take a V or not take a V, are no different than those they resist. Tables are turning. It's extraordinary to watch. They become the enemies of the state. Now you see how shit goes. Now you see how psychology works. I got your number. You claim not to like doctors, but damn, you love to quote them all the time and diagnose people. You've been exposed, and your bullshit memes are meant to destroy your fellow man, and you ain't trying to save anyone. This is why we're in a great reset. I don't want a lot of friends because this is how your friends treat you. Like literally, this is how your friends treat you. Oh, I learned strategies. I learned the tactics. And I will go to court against anyone that wants to make a claim against me. Believe me, nobody wants to go to court. But don't threaten with the law. And don't try to send me letters to silence me. Fuck that. Nope, it's not going to fucking happen. But I will not destroy you. But I will tell you that I know what the tactics were and are. And I'm not going to let you keep me diminished. And I know that people who are like that do that to other people. All right. Was that? I guess that was it. Okay, I read that, and here I am. Okay, so now you're seeing how this shit works, how you see this stuff work. I'm telling you, not many people are going to survive this or not be able to really do what I'm doing. I get it. If you can't, just don't watch me, okay? Please don't, because it's going to make you feel horrible. But that's the thing with this energy shift. It is increased the awareness and the connections, and there's not a long time between evolution. That's why that's why the last 3 years I was getting so many awakenings, so many evolutionary awarenesses. Because the more I kept releasing the demons and all that programming, the more the neural pathways were connecting and connecting. They kept connecting and connecting. And it's like my brain just keeps going. And then I keep feeding my body to support the brain, keep feeding the body to support the brain. And I'm not trying to be sexy. I'm not trying to gain followers. Believe me, I'm not. I'm trying to give those who are really suffering under the thumb of those who want to keep them under a certain type of whatever, that you have a way out. You don't have to be jailed by those around you that can't change. And I'll tell you, those who are evolutionary, who are withering under the captivity of their friends and family, you have a way out. And the people that don't like me are the ones keeping people captive. The ones that don't like me are keeping their friends and family and their own Facebook audience captive and deteriorating. And that's the war that we're in. And at night, you're in a war in your body. If you don't reinforce your body by day, you will lose a body by night. And that's why people die suddenly or die in their sleep. Understand the wars you're in. Step out of the wars and fight for yourself and reinforce your temple. If not, you will lose the war in both the waking world and the dead world. And you will be coaxed to the other side. All right, bye.